Let's say you were visited by a friendly alien from outer space, and this alien asked you about your life and your civilization and your society here on Earth. What might you say? Well, you might say, well, most of us live in these places called cities where lots of people live pretty close to each other. And we tend to stay in these cities most of the time unless we have a good reason to leave. And even when we do leave on some kind of a trip, we almost always come right back just as fast as we can. We also have these bigger areas called countries, and they're run by governments. And these countries have armies of people that sometimes fight each other when these governments have sharp disagreements about how people should live. And we have this stuff called money that we buy things with. And people get money by doing these things called jobs. And there are lots of different types of these jobs that people can have. And some jobs pay more money and give people more status than other jobs. People are also organized into groups that we call social classes. And people who have a lot of money belong to upper classes, and people who have less money belong to lower classes. And a person's class is often closely tied to the type of job or education that he has. And people in the upper classes tend to have more privileges, more rights, more advantages, and more power than people in the lower classes. And one big thing about jobs and social classes is this thing that we have called gender inequality. Some jobs are done more by men, and these jobs tend to pay more. And other jobs are done more by women, and these jobs tend to pay less. Often, men and women can have even the exact same job, and men still get paid more. And everyone knows it's a problem, but nobody knows how to fix it. We also use money to trade for all kinds of things with other people in other countries far away from us, because people in some countries often produce certain things better or more cheaply than people in other countries do. And it's just much easier just to trade for these things with people in other countries who make these things better or more cheaply than you can, rather than trying to make them in your own country. And we have lots of different cultures that produce different kinds of art and music and literature and foods and clothes and belief systems. And it's through our culture that we see the world, that we see ourselves, and that other people see us. And so culture is very important for people. And creating this culture is actually a job for some people. And many of us have this thing called religion. On certain days, many of us go to special places to worship whatever god or gods we believe in. And some go to church, and others go to a mosque, and still others go to a synagogue or some other kind of temple. And these places are run almost completely by men whom we respect a whole lot, and they're called ministers or priests or rabbis or imams or monks. And doing this kind of service is also a job for them. But whether we practice our religion or work at our jobs or read or write stories or useful information, we use some kind of a visual writing system as a way to create, send, receive, and retain all of this information. And our visual writing system helps us to store our knowledge in our religious books or literature books, on our phones, or on our computers. And when we're hungry, we eat. And almost all of our food comes from these places called farms and ranches, where people do these jobs that we call agriculture. And they grow plants and animals that we use for food. And we use our money to buy the food that they produce. And the alien might ask, well, has it always been this way? And then you might say, actually, no, it has not always been this way. In fact, we modern humans have been around for between 200,000 and 400,000 years. And up until about 8,000 years ago, practically none of what I just described existed at all. And that means that we have spent 96 to 98% of our entire history as a species with none of those things. And then the alien might ask, well, then where did all that stuff you talked about come from? And the answer to that question is Unit 2 of our course. The alien's question is even more important to you than it is to this alien. That alien can just go back into his spaceship and fly away. But you are stuck here to deal with all the consequences, good and bad, of all of this stuff. So welcome to history.